and then I can share that with us later. So we're live on Facebook. Hooray!
Yay!
Oh, hello everyone. I was just saying to Maryam, I've had the most crazy morning and I'm a little bit flustered, so I'm going to try and just relax and have a really nice chat. How are you going, Maryam?
I am doing good. Yeah, and I was sharing with you that I've had an equally crazy day. But you know, it's 7:30 p.m. over here, so we're supposed to be winding down, but now that I'm doing this, my kids just got an extra hour or so of pass, so
Yeah.
you might hear them. You might hear them.
I always say to people, like right off the bat, I'm like, okay, so guys, I might have kids running in here. They're going to be asking for a lolly or to get something to eat, because I just know that like it's my luck that they'll come in when I'm on a call or something.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're out today at a party, so that is good. But I'm always like, please accept my apology.
I know.
But people get it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like makes it all the more real, and it's nice. It's nice. It makes it all the more real.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, one time my daughter came in and I was like, oh my God. But, you know, I was like, you know, what's wrong? Are you okay? And, you know, she was just curious about what I'm doing. And so I just let her say hi on the live, and then she was fine and she left. And everybody was like, oh, you know, wow. I was like, right. Well, I had to thank her later, and I was like, look, you provided realness to my video.
Yes, I know. Like I used to get so caught up in it, and I would be so stressed thinking, and I would tell my husband, I was like, babe, can you keep them out? Like, this is before I had this office that we're still building. Like, there's a wall that needs wallpaper.
So cute.
And I was like, and it's in half of our garage, so this is my janky setup. And I was like, so I was in the bedroom, because we only have a 3-bedroom house, and we had our bedroom, the kid, like Arthur's and Eve's, 2 kids, and I would be on the bed with a box, and then my laptop table, and then my laptop and my light balancing on the bed, and I'd be like, please don't let them in. This is really important, my work. And then like that was just so stressful. And then when kids did come in, and there was a time when Eve, because she probably would have been like almost 3 or 3 at the time, and once she was like coming in and had done a poo, and she goes, Mummy, can you wipe my and I was like, and she's wafting toilet paper at me, and I'm like, I just need to wipe a bottom.
That's perfect. No, I think that's so awesome, and I think it's so important to have that factor of being real, because I mean, parenthood does not need to be put on a pedestal. And, you know, I don't care how much you know and how much I know. I know I'm continuously making mistakes. I know real parenthood is messy and unscheduled and unpredictable. So I love that we are able to do that for the people that are watching us, you know, because it's a tricky place to be in.
Yeah.
You know, I would hate, like, some of my clients always tell me, I love how real you are. And I'm like, you know, I'm honored that you are admiring me for it. But honestly, it is my insurance, because I would be afraid to come across as perfect because I'm so far from it. You know, I'm not one of those, like, I'm not super organized. I don't have all my like shit together all the time. You know, so yeah, this is just me being me, and you're still not seeing everything, you know. So
yeah, I know, we've got to keep it real, because otherwise, you know, people have this unattainable like vision of kids never melting down, kids never getting upset or frustrated or angry, and like being able to self-regulate from 2 years old. Like, no, get rid of that. Like it's too stressful. Anyway, so we just said before we hopped on, I'm like, we're going to chat for too long, aren't we? So, so let me introduce you properly, because I don't want to leave out any of the stuff that you're doing and working on, because I'm so excited that you're, I was saying before, like, you've given us your time and you just want to share what you know and what you've been working on and what is beneficial to families and kids these days. So everyone, if you haven't met Maryam, or if you're not in her group, which I'll get her obviously at the end to go through how you can get in touch with her, how you might want to do any work with her or follow her projects and things like that. But so this is Maryam, and she's a parenting consultant and mental health counselor in training, and the founder of the Parent Empowerment Project, which I'm going to pick your brain about because I love the sound of that, and not-for-profit meant to educate and support parents really with, like, in light of those latest findings in terms of research and neuroscience based on the brain, which I love talking about. Usually in the first couple of sessions with any parent, I go, okay, let's first look at what our kids are functioning with in terms of their under construction brain, and then we'll look at, like, you as parents and what you're bringing to the dynamic or the interaction, and then, you know, how to teach our kids this stuff. And she has 4 young kids of her own, and she's originally from Pakistan but now is in Washington DC. So I would love you to, like, fill that out a bit more, or just let us know, you know, how you got into the work that you're doing now and what you love about it. I don't know. I just, like I was saying also, that I haven't, it's almost good when I haven't really met someone I'm interviewing properly, because then I can just bombard them with all the questions, and it comes from that authentic space that I want to get to know them and share everything. So sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, the nonprofit was born out of this because I, as a Muslim Pakistani immigrant in the US, every time I was out with my kids, I felt a lot of judgment. And the funny thing is, I didn't have any kids for about 7 years, at which point we had my first son after 8 years of being married and trying actively for a while with IVF. So we were definitely not expecting to have 4 kids, 4 and under, you know. But every time I went out with them, I got these really judgmental looks. And it's funny because every time my husband's out with them, he gets standing ovations, but I just pretty much just got judgmental looks.
Wow.
And then every time I talk to other parents, they also felt like they just get a lot of judgment. Like, there's no support, but there is a lot of judgment. And I was like, well, we're all trying our best, and somehow it doesn't seem to be good enough for everybody around us. You know, and a lot of people feel judged. Statistics show in the US, 90% of parents feel judged all the time, even by family and friends. And I was like, okay, so, you know, we can judge or we can help, you know? So let me help. Let me see what I can do to help and support parents, because I'm convinced that if parents knew better, they would do better.
Yeah.
They don't know it better. There's no such thing as intuitive parenting. We're just parenting from conditioning, you know, from our conditioning of 20, 30 years. So how can we make different choices based on what we know now? And I've loved research. I've always loved research. I have some background in statistics and psychology. And so that's where I would go. I would look at the research and I would be like, the research says something totally different rather than what we're doing and the message that we're being given. So that's where I started my idea. And I remember my first workshop, I had just like one couple come to my first workshop. I did it free. I did it as a community project. But it was so exciting because at the end of that couple, they just looked blown away, and they were like, wow, that is such great info. So it means parenting is much easier than we think it is, and we have to do less, not more. And I was like, yes. So I was so encouraged by their positive feedback. And then I did a few other, and it just kept going and going. And like, I'm so blown away by the response that I've gotten from all over the world. You know, it's been such a joyful journey. So
yeah, it's such a massive area, and you're right, you've got now that, I mean, with the internet, there's such a huge platform for us to share the stuff that we know helps and works and makes stuff easier. And I like it how you kind of put it that way, is that when you learn, you know, people do the best with what they can, 100%, and it's just about when you learn something new or different, or another perspective or approach, and knowing that brain science behind it, then it's like, oh, I didn't know you could, I didn't know it could be this easy or this flowy. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean?
Yes, that it can become intuitive. Like, that's what you're trying to say, that I mean, if we but the intuition is buried under a lot of conditioning that we like. I do say that to parents. I often say to them, think back to 200 years, or how God meant for us to have children. It is not possible that we give so much time and attention to each child. That's not humanly possible. That means that children were born to entertain themselves. We are their facilitators. We are their scaffolding. We don't have to be physically in our child's face all the time. And yet modern parents, I feel like this is the first generation of parents. I mean, they're so loving and kind, and they just want to be with their child all the time.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful. It's not helpful for the child. It's not helpful for the parent. So, less is more. Less is more. And that's, I think that's what you were trying to say, that when we go back to that intuition that we had, it works.
Yeah, I love that. It just works, because you're right. A lot of that intuition has been squashed and covered and put layers over by what we've, like you said, our conditioning, and then what our parents brought us up the best way that they could. And now, like, over time, there is only more and more research and science and all that being done. So it's like, of course, we're going to be more better equipped to find what works and what makes things easier. So what are...
Yeah, we've had so much research done, like you're saying, just in the last 20 years. They call them the decades of the brain. They've done so much research on children's brains like never before. And now we know stuff we just simply didn't know, or our parents had no way of knowing. And none of this is to ever discount our parents' efforts. I think they did so much better than their own parents. Their parents probably did better. I mean, children have always just been viewed as something to be heard, seen and not heard, right? Like, we've all heard that, like, spare the rod, spoil the child, like those kind of things. Like, that's how the society has viewed children for so many years. So now it's up to us to change that, and I think we can do it.
Yeah. Do you feel like, from your perspective, because you've got an incredible audience and following, and people are resonating with what you're posting about parenting and the different ways that we can now do things and connect with our kids, do you find like now is the time that people there's a shift happening?
I think so. Yeah, I definitely think that with the internet and the resources that we have, especially with COVID, where people are kind of forced to shift all learning to online learning. Like, I was doing in-person workshops before, but now everything I'm doing is online. So I think definitely, but Stephanie, still, I feel like we have such a long way to go. Like, whenever I'm on any mainstream parenting group, I see the same rhetoric. It's sad, but I have to pause, and I have to be like, you know what, I am doing something, and me making a random comment here is not going to help. So I have to be picky about where I spend my online time. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a shift happening, but we still have so long to go.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the things that you often hear parents stressed about or complaining about or having trouble with? Like, what are the things that you're hearing over there? I know they're universal, but what are some of the things that you often hear that parents are struggling with?
Yeah, I think some of the things are definitely very universal, in terms of, well, we feel like our kids just don't want to listen to us.
Yeah.
And disrespect seems to be used a lot. Like, kids these days are so rude. Kids these days are so disrespectful. We weren't like that. And so that seems to be a major concern. And I always tell parents, believe it or not, but your child telling you exactly what they think might seem disrespectful, but it's actually a good sign. It means that they're not afraid of you, that they're not scared of you. Why do you want to raise children that are? We didn't say anything because we were scared. Childhood and fear are not compatible. They've done studies that show that children who grow up in a home where at least one of the parents is very verbally abusive. I mean, I'm just going to mention verbal abuse because obviously there's worse, but even just verbal abuse, those children's brains resemble the brains of soldiers that have returned from a war. So PTSD, you know?
Yeah.
So fear and parenting are not compatible in childhood. I mean, those children, you see the light go out of their eyes. I used to work in a homeless shelter, and as soon as I was in the tutoring program, as soon as a child walked in, I could tell their eyes would just, there was no light in them. They
Yeah.
wouldn't smile, and they'd do everything I asked. They were so obedient. But that's not what childhood is about. It's not about being obedient. It's about learning. Children just come into this world like wired for learning and exploring and pushing boundaries. That's how they learn. So
I
I
know.
know it's hard. I know it's hard that our kids don't listen to us, but it's a positive sign that our children are not scared of us. And of course, the way they're going to learn respect is by us respecting them. I'm not saying, oh, let's just embrace the disrespect, or, oh yeah, kids, nobody, we shouldn't care how children are talking. No, we should, but then we need to model that. If we're not modeling, when I'm upset and I'm yelling at my kids, I'm teaching them that you yell when
Oh
you're
my God,
upset.
I say the same thing.
Right?
Yeah, I'm like, if you are getting upset and frustrated or angry, and then you're shouting or you're yelling or smacking or whatever it is, then your kids are learning, oh, when people get upset, they yell and shout and smack. Like that's the paradigm. That's the, like, this is what it
Yes.
is. This is our way of being. So you can't, like, you have to be modeling. And that's why,
Yes.
like, the work really starts and ends with us, because we've got to model the behaviors that we want like the respect, like you said,
Yeah.
because we can't give what we don't have. We can't be trying to teach them how to listen and be respectful and stuff like that if we're not listening and we're saying, well, I'm the adult, you're the child, so just get on board.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. So I would say that's the number one, definitely. Well, kids don't listen and they're rude. That's definitely the number one concern. And then I just, I coach parents on how to build a relationship with their children, because again, this is what, even I don't know about Australia, but in the US, they're now doing trainings even in work environments where they're teaching leaders. The trainings are for the leaders, not for the people lower in the hierarchy. They're for the leaders, and they're saying build relationship, build relationship. If you build relationship, your employees will want to do better. And why are companies doing it? Because they want more productivity. That's why.
Oh my God.
So and that is such a cut and dry kind of relationship, right? Like your work environment, you think I'm just going to go work, come back, but they're saying no, build relationships with your subordinates. And that's the only way to get them to really be committed to the work and be productive. So it goes back to the same thing. Human psyche is the same. If we want our children to listen to us, we have to listen to them. If we want them to respect us, we have to respect them. If we are the leaders, we are leading the way. Literally, we are leading the way. And being a leader is not about authority. It's not about ego. It's about taking care of those that are under you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I resonate with everything you've just said, and I have a small a growing, I should say, side business, which is EQ Culture.
Stephanie, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. And we talked about this. We talked about our kids interrupting you.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yes, Isa? What's that?
I can hear a tiny voice.
Oh, okay. Well, I can help you after I'm done here. Okay, I promise. We'll take care of it. Okay, here, you can have it. But I can't help you right now, okay? I can help you in like 30 minutes, okay? All right. He's been asking me since yesterday to fix his video game problem, and we've been kind of going back and forth on it. So, okay, I'm back. Stephanie, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying so my other work is a company called EQ Culture, and it's about bringing emotional intelligence into teams and organizations. And at the start, we were like, do we target the whole organization? Like, you don't want to miss the people on the ground level doing the work. And then we realized, like, oh, it needs to filter down. It has to come from those in those leadership positions, because then it's something that the company embodies as its culture, like relationships and emotional intelligence and connecting with people and all that kind of stuff. So I'm so like, I'm on the exact same wavelength. And I think
Yes,
a lot of parents
exactly.
now are. I used to get messages saying, oh my God, my kids are loud, noisy, defiant, they're not listening. Can you help me? Like, they're crazy. Now parents are tending to say, oh my God, I'm struggling to manage them. I'm not managing my triggers. I know that I'm half the problem. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh, it's a shift.
Yeah, that's a big shift. That is a big shift, absolutely. And that also makes us, I feel like it makes us feel more empowered. Like, oh, I can do something about this. This is not my kid's problem. It is, or not even to use that it's my problem, but just this is where I can do something. I can make a change. And I think it's very empowering. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. At first, when you realize, oh my gosh, so it's me, that's a hard moment. That's really, it is hard. And I have so much empathy for any parent who has that moment. Even in my group, sometimes I'll see that people will say, like, oh my gosh, I just had the world's hardest epiphany. It's me. And I'm like, I know. And, hugs for you, because it is so, so hard. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to hold your hand. I'm here to like help you and support you and make you feel like you're not alone. And I've been down that exact same journey.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. It can be hard at the start when you're changing any kind of, like, parenting is your style and your pattern and everything. That's a habit. Like, that's your behavior. To if you're quick to anger, or if your triggers are when kids say no, like, those are big habits that for not your whole life, but your whole parenting life. If you have a 5-year-old,
Yes.
it's like 5 years that you've been like, just, you've got that pattern of how to
Mhm.
react. And so it is like, it's like going to the gym or eating healthy or something, learning the piano. It's like a little bit of work to get that momentum going. But once you see the like results and the transformation, then you realize that it's like so
It's worth
well
it.
worth it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yes, you're so right. It's such a changing of patterns. And it's an ongoing process. It's not to say that now that I know better, I'm always going to be making wonderful, great parenting choices. So much of this, which I talk a lot about, is our thinking brain versus our feeling brain. Your thinking brain, bring the front part of the front portion of your brain, which uses logic and reasoning, and the feeling part of your brain being the more primitive part, which comes into action when we are having any big emotions. So if I'm having, if my boss said something mean or unkind to me, or if I had an altercation with my neighbor, I am gonna respond differently to a situation with my child than I would if I just got a promotion, or if I just, talked to a friend that we really connected with. So where your emotional brain is, where your feeling brain is what your thinking brain's going to do.
yeah.
So it's a continually learning process. And we have to learn to forgive ourselves for the times when we think with our emotional brain, because that's being human,
Oh my God,
it's
yeah. That's so true. We've got to be kind to ourselves. Be in a way, like, what would you say to your best friend? Like, it's okay. We're all trying.
Mhm.
We all have crap days. Like, we stuff up, and especially people like you and I who are, we've learned about this and we've studied it and we're embodying it most of the time every day. We still bloody stuff up, and we will have all those, like, setting conditions that, like, I haven't had enough sleep, I feel sick, or I've had, bad news at work and this and that. And then we are more likely to be triggered. Like, I love that you said, yeah, we're human and
Yeah.
we've got to be kind to ourselves and not beat
Yes.
ourselves up for, yeah.
Yeah. Stephanie, do you feel like in your work, because I work with a lot of my clients are from Pakistan, or and what I'm learning is that it doesn't really matter where you're from, and the lines are really blurring and thinning for me as I'm getting to talk to people from all over the world, that we've always had the same lived experience, which is moms are hard on themselves, like really hard on ourselves. And there's so much mom guilt, which I don't even think is really guilt. It's just downright shaming. Like, oh my gosh, you're such a bad mom. I'm
Yeah.
such a failure. Do you hear that a lot
I,
in,
I just heard
your
it last night. I was out for dinner with some of my girlfriends, and the conversation went that way about parenting. And I was obviously talking about what I'd done that week and my parenting coaching work. And then you're like, it just comes out that like, yeah, I felt like I failed today. Like I'm the worst mom, and I'm, like my kids are probably, I'm damaging my kids. And like, sometimes it's said in a bit of a joking way, and other times they're like, oh my God, I think I'm like the worst mom. And I'm like, oh,
Mm,
guys, like it's, we're so hard on
yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, and I work with dads too, and I can't ever say that I've heard a dad say, "Oh, I'm such a horrible dad." Like they'll say, "Oh, I tried this with my kid and it didn't work," or like, "Tell me what I can do better next time."
Mm,
Dads have a much better attitude towards, their mistakes, which makes sense because dads do a little bit and everybody's like, "Yeah," and moms, we do so much and we get so little credit. So that's not to say men don't have their challenges. They have their challenges. They have their conditioning from society that they struggle with. That's not to minimize their experiences. But as a mom in the parenting roles, like, yes, I feel like dads are doing, like, hitting it out of the ballpark because they forgive themselves because they're so good with, oh, I tried this and it didn't work, what else can I do? Whereas us moms immediately go to, "Ah, I'm the worst mom ever," or like, "I'm just failing, I'm a failure."
yeah.
And so yeah, I feel like it is so important to forgive ourselves and be kind, like you said, like, speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend and say, "It's okay, you make mistakes, so what? You, of course you're a wonderful mom, of course you're not a bad mom."
Yeah, and I think like just what you were saying about the way we speak to ourselves versus men, and yes, we're like generalizing because we know that there are some men out there who may do that and whatever, but generally, we beat ourselves up, and I think we're not even aware of it sometimes. And if we just, like, in terms of emotional intelligence, the first like step or the first hurdle is self-awareness, being aware of your own patterns and habits and behaviors, and how that
Mhm.
impacts other people but also yourself. And so if you're aware of the fact that you have those personalized thoughts of whatever's happening around you, and you personalize it like, oh my God, it's because of me, I'm the worst, I should have known not to give you that soft drink or whatever. Personalizing those thoughts, and then catastrophizing, like, oh my God, this, something happens, and you think, well, the whole day's a bloody mess, like nothing, there's no
Mm.
point to do anything now. Like they're those thought patterns, personalizing and catastrophizing, and like polarizing thoughts, like all or nothing, like this is, everything has just gone out the window, or you never
Yeah.
listen, when actually it's like, it's not all or nothing. Like sometimes you don't listen, or sometimes I struggle. Like when you're aware of those thought patterns, then you can catch them and see them for what they are, just those thoughts that are coming in and out, and that are kind of, it's your inner critic that is meant to be pretty like tough on you
Yes.
for survival.
Yes.
But we don't need it all the time because it just drags us down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so important to be aware of our thoughts, and that's a pattern our brain follows. Is there's a feeling, and then there's a thought, and then there's an action. So the more distance we can create between our feelings and thoughts, the more we can control our action, right? So what you're saying is, when you become aware of a thought, see how the thought is presenting itself. That's your self-talk, and maybe talk back to it, in a gentle, kind way, because even that sort of, oh my gosh, I'm the worst mom ever, comes from somewhere. It's, you've been conditioned to believe that a perfect mom exists who
Yeah.
never yells at her kids. So we're not born with that thinking. So where did that come from? So again, be kind and gentle even with that part of yourself that has a negative self-talk, and be like, I know you're trying to take care of me because you're trying to help me adjust to society, but I'm okay, and I'm not the worst mom ever. So talk back to your thoughts. I know it's like
Yeah.
the idea that crazy people talk to themselves. First of all, being crazy is underrated. I think I think there's a little bit crazy in all of us.
Yep.
And then yes, talk it. I mean, that's what research tells us. People who talk to themselves do better in life, like are more well adjusted. So talk to yourself and be like, yeah, I screwed up. I made a mistake. And now I'm having a thought about it that I'm a bad mom, but I'm not though. I'm not a bad mom. I'm a great mom.
Yeah. It's like that having, I love how you said having that distance between your thoughts and your feelings and, you know, the behaviors as well, because to do that, it's like when you become that outside observer and you have that distance and you look at your thoughts and go, wow, that was a pretty mean thought. Like, come on, rein it in. And I'll still have days where I'm like, Steph, rein it in. It's not that big deal. Like, and I'm like, oh. So
Yeah.
to be able to do that and have that space and become the observer, it's like just catching that. It's like a bit of a circuit breaker to stop that loop of thoughts.
Yes.
That when you think I'm the worst mom, of course it's stuffed up. You know, I'm damaging him. Like, look, he doesn't even want to hug me, or those things. And then those thoughts create those feelings of like resentment or stress or overwhelm or shame or guilt. And so then that creates how you act, your actions, your behavior. Like you will, you know.
Yes, it's a downward spiral. Yes, it's a downward spiral. It's a vicious cycle, and it's not helpful. And you're so right. Like the other day, my kids were, for the first time, and I don't know, ever since they've been born, I had a whole week, almost a whole week without my kids, because my cousin, God bless her, took half of them, and my mother-in-law, God bless her, took the other half. And so I had a whole week without them, and I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, I love my kids, but this is so nice. And then I felt bad about it, and I was like, but good moms miss their children so much that they cannot even enjoy themselves. And I was like, okay, I'm having a weird thought that's been conditioned by society. In reality, I am enjoying myself, and it's okay. And my kids are gonna be back with me. They've been homeschooled since March. We've been together since March.
Wow.
We've spent every hour together, many hours, even in the night where they come into my bed. I am allowed to enjoy a week without my kids. It's okay. But yeah, I had to become aware of that thought, because it was starting to bring me down. And I was like, I don't miss my kids. That makes me a bad mom. So I should miss no, pause. It's okay. I can enjoy myself. I love my kids.
Yeah, I love that. Thank goodness we're so real and we have those thoughts and feelings too. Like it just shows that no one is perfect and there's no perfect mom, and you know, we're just doing the best we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so conscious of the time, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about the the projects you have going on at the moment, and where people can find a little bit more information about you or get in contact with you. So can you let us all know? And I'll put all the links, I will put all the links and things like that in the Facebook feed as well, so we won't miss them.
Okay, awesome. And Stephanie, I don't know if you're getting some comments or something, and something needs to be addressed. We can do that too. I'm not looking at the comments, so I can't see them. But if you are, then I'd be happy to address something. But yeah, I am. You can just go to my website, maryammunir.com. It's my first name, last name.com. And right now I have so I call my programs. I mean, I've done other workshops in the past, but right now my program is called Anoke Parents, and Urdu Anoke means different. And honestly, it also means like weird, like it means different in a sort of negative, almost like a negative connotation.
I remember, looking up your website when we first chatted a while ago, and that you had typed out that almost was a bit of a derogatory term with parenting. Is that right?
Yes. So like people will say, so a lot of parents I work with will say, well, when I'm trying to validate my child's emotions, other people look at me and say, I've also parented. So are you like Anoki? Are you like weird? Like, are you trying to be weird? You think you're so different, like they get that kind of rhetoric that like, well, you think you're so different, huh? So I said, why not let that word empower us? Because yes, we are different. different and we want to be different. We don't want to repeat abuse cycles. So that's why I the programs are all called that. But just because it has an Urdu title does not mean that it's limited to Pakistanis or Urdu speaking people. We do have people, last batch we had somebody lovely lady from India, and this time and Somalia, and this time again we have somebody I believe from Somalia again, and somebody else from Kenya. So we have people from all over the world. And I was telling Stephanie, I'm so glad that we're doing this at a time that fits Australia and New Zealand, because I have so many followers from Australia and New Zealand. And this time when I did the program, I made sure to include that. So please look on the website for timings that, work for Australia and New Zealand also. So I have 2 different options. So you can go to my website, look at my programs, and they're all mainly done in English. The videos are all in English and Urdu. But the ones that are in English are completely in English. So yes, it's definitely meant to be for everyone, so and then I have a, what's that?
Sorry, are they like self-paced online programs, or is it with you?
There's both. They're both. Like I have 3 different options. One is totally self-paced, and you can attend my webinars whenever you want. I do a weekly webinar, live webinar, to answer questions and stuff. If you want to join it, if you don't, it's up to you. And then the one that is the golden one, that's where it's totally led by me. So that's very small group coaching. That's the one that I was referring to, with people from different countries. So, and I have a 24/7 WhatsApp group, and it's just really, we end up with such a lovely community at the end of it. That's like the best part, where everybody has been real and open. And gosh, I'm so blown away. This time I have dads in the group, and they're sharing, and they're, oh my gosh, I just keep asking the dad, can I copy paste this? Like people need to know that this is what dads think and say,
Yes, I know, 100%. It's awesome to see the dads getting in and just learning about it, and getting their hands in there, trying some different ways to connect, or different strategies and things like that. Because you're right that whatever we are using now is just a result of whatever we've learned, whatever we've been given and conditioned. So if we learn a new way to look at things, or some new information, and like the cognitive development side of stuff, that's so powerful. And it's just literally, it's not like boring black or white stuff. I think this stuff is, because it relates to our family, and therefore our kids, and our happiness, and our balance at home. Like it's for everyone, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And I really ask the moms that I work with to have a lot of empathy for their husbands, because remember when we were from, I don't know, age 2, 3, we would play with a doll. Everybody was like, "Ooh, looks so cute." If a boy tried to play with a doll, it would be snatched from him. Boys were not encouraged to be nurturing or caring from a very young age, and their own feelings were squashed all the time. Boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. And again, that was in every single culture, so yes, they struggle to connect. They don't know how to connect with their children, so I tell the moms, like, please, and this goes for myself too, honestly, something I have to, if my husband's watching this, he's going to be like, yeah, you're one to talk, because for me also, it's, it's definitely a work in progress, giving the dads more grace. And like one thing I've noticed with my husband is he loves to take the kids outside and do stuff with them, and I love to do things with the kids at home. So at first I found myself kind of getting irritated that he doesn't do anything with them at home, but I'm like, you know what, that's his thing and this is my thing, and like we can both have different things. We don't have to do what the other one is doing to connect. He finds it easier to take them on a trip to Costco. I don't know if you guys,
we do.
Yeah, okay. He loves taking them to Costco for some reason. I would never take them grocery shopping, but he loves doing it. I love doing art with them. He wouldn't do art with them if it, like, his life depended on it. So it's okay. They've got their thing, we've got ours, and we together, we got to do this together because we're partners.
Oh my gosh, we're so similar. I will do like craft, art, get the painting down, do the Play-Doh, do the coloring in books. And then my husband's one to like take him out or go playing or just out the back or something like that. And you're right, like we have to almost like get rid of some of that control that we kind of feel like, why aren't you doing this, or this way is better, or like we kind of think that, and let it go. Like, you do you, you know, that's how the kids are gonna learn off dad, whatever he's teaching them, or just by experiencing stuff. We don't have to like be the same all the time, you know.
No, we don't. Yeah, absolutely, we don't have to be the same. Okay, and Stephanie, you were asking me about the program, so I was going to share that I created a coupon code for anybody that's watching in your group, and it's Steph20. Sorry, my thing would not allow me your whole name. I hope you don't mind me shortening your name, but it's Steph, STEPH20. 20, that you can use that on the golden package, and then Steph 220 you can use on the silver package, which is more the self-led program. So, you know, we'll share all these details, we'll write it out, and you don't have to think about it, because I know like it's so hard for us to remember things. So we'll share them.
Wonderful. Okay, well, the only last question that just came up was, how can I reach out to Maryam? So Tahana, we've just spoken about that. We will put Maryam's links in Facebook. I'm just watching along here. So after we hop off in a couple of minutes, I'll put all her links in there, and you can get in touch with her. And guys, I highly recommend it. I absolutely love her work. And I think just opening that door to, you know, to do some coaching or do a program, or, you know, once you do it, you don't have to do it again and again and again and again. It's not like, you know, when you see a psychologist, sometimes you'll see them for years and years. I'm like, once you've got these tools and know how to connect, like they're in your tool belt, you've got them forever. So highly recommend.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, Stephanie. It's a one-time, you know, it's a one-time investment of maybe your time and money. And then what you need after that is your tribe, is your community, is your supportive community, which is what Stephanie's Facebook group is, which is what my Facebook group is, totally free resources. You know, and after you do one of my programs, you get a special Facebook group that is just for the people that have attended that program, so that you can talk about the knowledge you've gained. So yeah, I mean, it's the same 4 things that you're gonna do again and again, and it's a matter of just healing yourself and unconditioning and learning, relearning, unlearning, relearning.
That's it. Unlearning and relearning. I love that. Thank you so much, Maryam. I'm so grateful for you giving us your time tonight / this morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun, Stephanie. And I love your work too. The more, the emotional intelligence, like you're focusing a lot on that. And that's also like a really, for anybody who doesn't know, this is watching this, like Yale, I don't know if you know about the Yale University here in the US. It's one of the Ivy Leagues. Like they have an emotional intelligence institute. It's called Yale's. Yeah. So it's legitimate stuff, y'all. Like it's not just feelings that are like, anybody can ignore feelings. No, I mean, emotions and emotional intelligence is big. And if we don't take care of our feelings, if we don't give them the importance and time and processing they need, there's a price to pay later, always.
Oh my God.
So thank you for your work too, Stephanie. I'm so glad that that's what your group is called, and that's, people know that that's where they should go for that stuff.
Definitely. And you're right, like just quickly, because I know we're over time and we could always chat.
Please do.
But when you were saying with emotional intelligence, it's an investment. It's so important because it's not just fluffy feelings. Like people now are realizing that, I mean, emotional intelligence is, in a nutshell, it's managing your emotions and yourself well. So it's when you see those people, or the kids or the adults in your workplace, who are either really stubborn or really rude, or they don't work well in a team, or they are dramatic and like splash their emotions out, or if they're not confident, or if they are not resilient, like all of that stuff is emotional intelligence, because it's literally that ability to be aware of and manage your own emotions, but those of other people's as well, like that other awareness of empathy and that stuff. So this stuff
absolutely.
I kind of think of like a classroom is like a mini workplace, in the fact that you will need, we're all building relationships with people around us, and you can either like people around you and they will like you, and then you get more opportunities and so forth, or you can damage those relationships, which just makes everything stressful and
Yes.
yeah. So, but yeah,
Yeah. And
it's like,
same for the home, right? The home is like a mini workplace too, because we all got to work together. And if you don't like each other and if you're always butting heads, then nobody's going to feel good. And if you don't feel good, you don't do good things. You don't feel like doing anything because you don't feel good. So yes, emotions are important. They are super duper important. I just say the Yale thing because I'm like, look, if Yale's got a whole institute on it, it's got to be important. Right? These are cool people doing cool things. So thank you for that, Stephanie. That's very important. And if we don't model that emotional intelligence, how are we going to teach it to our children? So we got to model it. Like I don't know if you have those in Australia. In the US, I see a lot of those ads for teach your child mindfulness and these cool mindful posters. And I'm like, okay, those are fine, but your kids are not going to do them if you don't do that. If we're not, in my home, we have a corner that's not in the kids area. It's just in a separate part of our home where all of us are supposed to go there when we feel upset to process our emotions, and when my kids see me do it, then they do it more. And if I forget to do it, then they'll also forget to do it, so.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we can't give what we don't have. We've got to be modeling it ourselves.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It's so fun. I know, right? We could go on forever, Stephanie. That's what I told you.
I know. Oh my gosh. We'll have to organize, I don't know, another time.
Yes, we'll do it another time. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And guys, yeah, we'll put in the link. So go and check out Maryam's work. I highly, highly recommend it. And go and join her group as well. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next interview in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay.